truly, truly honoured to talk about my experience with Jeremy. And it will tell you something of the man that I knew over many, many years, even longer than 40 years. Jeremy and I go back a long way. Both of us were anti-apartheid, were in the anti-apartheid movement. Me, because I had lived through apartheid and wanted passionately to see one person, one vote in a free and equal South African, thanks Crispin, free and equal South African society. Jeremy, because he recognized injustice then as now, and was prepared to put his freedom on the line for those without. It was a long uphill struggle, and there seemed to be no light at the end of the tunnel. Reagan and Thatcher were the cheerleaders for apartheid and called Nelson Mandela a terrorist. Later on, Thatcher was only too pleased to be photographed with him. They were heavily invested in that regime, but then the foundations eroded. Mandela was free, and a new South Africa was born. Jeremy was always a sterling supporter of the campaign. As the old photo shows, he put himself on the line, totally dependable. I was but a foot soldier, but we shared that passion. I know Jeremy by reputation as part of the larger movement, but did not have any personal contact with him then. It was through the Palestine campaign that I met and came so much to value Jeremy. I was a white South African and resented being privileged as a white person in South Africa. I am a Jew, an international Jew. I resent being privileged as a Jew, allowed to go to Israel while the Palestinians are prevented. So that is why I had to join that campaign. Jeremy campaigning for Palestine meant bringing the plight of the Palestinian people to a larger public and to the legislature, so that action could be taken to challenge Israel's subjugation of the Palestinian people. We needed parliamentary support. Sometimes we needed a room, sometimes we needed a speaker, sometimes we needed questions to be asked or an early day motion. Jeremy was always our go-to person, and he never disappointed. He was not the only advocate for Palestine in the Labour Party, but he was the one who would do the difficult tasks, the ones that could result in unwarranted publicity, like support for Raed Silo, the Palestinian leader who was under threat of deportation at the instigation of the Israeli state. Jeremy never hesitated to stand on a platform in support of Raed Salah, as did I. Little did we know that the support would one day come back to haunt him. Jeremy never stood on ceremony. He was always the easiest MP to approach and stood in stark contrast with so many others. He could be our stand-bearer, and miraculously in 2015, that is what he became, a beacon of light that inspired so many, including myself, to rejoin the party. in a ferment of ideas, a belief in our capacity to change and the possibility of a viable future in this country, enthralled to austerity that corrupted the spirit. Jeremy was a leader of a movement that allowed us to dream. But it was not to be. The 2017 election showed what was possible, but those in power decided that they would not stand for it. And one of the best, kindest, boldest and most fervent anti-racist politicians that most of us has ever known was targeted as an existential danger. The weapon that was most successful was that of anti-Semitism. Because, believe me, there is not a bone of anti-Semitism in Jeremy's body. It was always about support for Israel. It is abundantly clear that all parties, particularly the Tory party, hold members with anti-Semitic views. But it is clear too that these are always forgiven as long as the person pledges fealty to Israel. The foreign policy elite need a country in the Middle East complying with Western interests and a model for the surveillance state, while the Jewish establishments have too much invested in Israel to tolerate a leader that would hold the country, now recognized as an apartheid state, to account. It was a portent of things to come after the high water mark of the 2017 election. The attacks grew exponential, and they must have taken a terrible toll on Jeremy. Jeremy resigned. Starmer took over. Jeremy resigned in 2019. Starmer took over on the basis of a false prospectus and has managed to hollow out the party to become merely a stage army for a new liberal authoritarian regime which bears little or no resemblance to anything like democracy, never mind a left-wing socialist party. They won the battle. They defeated Jeremy, and what have they achieved? A wasteland. The public realm is in crisis. Poverty and vulnerability stalk the land, while the climate emergency provokes such existential anxiety that people fear to bring children into the world. Starmer's party has nothing to offer and inspires no trust. But the hope that Jeremy instilled into all of us will not die. The politicians of today are the past, and if we allow them to continue on their path to perdition, our future will be mortgaged. Enthralled to bankers and corporate power, they offer us no solution to the daunting problems we face. The people of Islington North and the people of this country need Jeremy to continue to champion a future for ourselves, for our children, for our grandchildren. And finally, I want to say, for those who may feel despair, when I first came to this land in 1960, I believed I would never live to see a free South Africa. We saw it, we can do it, let's get on with it.